Hello there, simps. So as promised, we're doing an Until Dawn power scaling tier list video of all the heroes in Until Dawn. Without further ado, let's get into it. So first up, we have Beth, and I'm sure those of you who don't know will be surprised by my answer, but I'm gonna have to put Beth at the peak of human fitness, and I'll explain why. You see, before the events of Until Dawn, Beth actually won several awards in sports, such as when she was a national championship finalist in 2010 playing soccer, and in 2011, Beth had been named MVP in hockey. Yes, this is an actual fact about her. She was the literal MVP. And she finished as a state championship runner-up in 2011. And then we also gotta remember, Beth held on to the edge of the cliff, while also holding on to Hannah's hand for a good while. And let's be honest, that takes an insane amount of strength. So with all that said, it's not hard to see why Beth gets put in this category and would absolutely wipe the floor with the average person. Next up is Chris. Although he was known to have canonically not done very well at climbing in gym class, at his peak, Chris does have superhuman reflexes, as I mentioned in my previous video. And near the end of the game, he was running from multiple wendigo while hurt, which is at least an impressive speed feat. So when push comes to shove, he'd still most likely beat an average person, but he is going into the middle category since Chris himself states he's not too athletic. But we've visually seen him do some pretty impressive stuff when under pressure, so we can assume Chris with an adrenaline rush could be higher. Next is Josh. He's going in the middle too because we know he played baseball before, but that's all we know. And he has no notable impressive feats athletically, unless you want to count when Josh goes full Mike Tyson on Trashley, who is also the weakest of all the protagonists. So yeah, Josh is going in the middle. Next, we have Jack the Mac Daddy Fiddler, and I don't think this even needs to be a discussion. You're not beating him. In fact, he'd most likely beat you with one eye closed. This man has some of the most impressive feats out of all the characters here. First of all, Emily spent more than an hour in the mines, and if you remember that moment when fire was seen and yelling could periodically be heard, that was Jack Fiddler fighting Wendigo Hannah for about an hour straight down in the mines off-screen, which is an insane feat for a human, and Jack Fiddler has many years of experience fighting the Wendigo alone, and he was able to solo Chris and Mike because he could sense their hesitance, and that immediately let him know how inexperienced they were with weapons compared to him. So he has good instincts, which gives him an advantage against younger opponents. You're not beating Jack, not even close. Next up is Jess. She did partake in cheerleading, and in terms of lore, that's about it, and in terms of the durability she's demonstrated, which I also mentioned in the previous video, has to go in the peak of human fitness. Next up is Wolfie. This isn't even a discussion, you're just not beating him, it's a literal wolf. Next up is Mike. You're not beating him either. And Mike actually also has a pretty insane speed feat, because earlier in the game, Mike outruns Wolfie at one point, and Wolfie is actually a northwestern wolf, and northwestern wolves are capable of moving 40 miles per hour. And while this isn't as crazy of a feat as outrunning Wendigo, which can go much faster than 40 miles per hour, this means Mike could potentially beat Usain Bolt in a race, and Mike's not even the most athletic character on this list, but I thought this was worth mentioning to really help you understand why I say Until Dawn's humans are built different. Okay, next we got Sam, and I'm sorry, but you're just not beating Sam. In fact, one of her most insane feats isn't even athletic, but it's that she was in a bathtub for 2 hours minimum, and her skin didn't wrinkle or prune up at all. And do you know how long it takes real humans for our skin to prune up from a bath? It only takes 5 minutes for the minimum effect and 30 minutes for maximum effect. And Sam is out here staying in it for 2 hours. Yes, actually 2 hours. Sam is not human. And then there's the memes about the towel that somehow never fell off of her, and I'm just going to attribute that to Until Dawn's laws of physics. And now, if we want to look at Sam's feats, she's fast, is a great rock climber unlike Chris, and she also has great reflexes. So yeah, Sam deserves to be at this spot. End of story. Next up is Emily Danger Davis. You're not beating them. You're not. Firstly, her fire tower feat is actually insane. So when looking at the fire tower, I'd say it's maybe 60 to 70 feet tall, and the mine shaft that the tower fell into might be around 300 to 500 feet deep, and the likelihood of a person surviving that is 0. And I don't want to hear that she had a rope tied to her leg as an excuse, because the rope, in theory, should have made things worse for her realistically, as it would cause a severe spinal injury, and you die from shock. But Emily didn't. In fact, she just woke up and went full acrobat. And she was also able to knee Jack Fiddler, of all people, the same Jack Fiddler who couldn't even be hit by Hannah for a good while. And then also, just like Sam, she also rock climbs. Except Emily was able to rock climb with one good knee, and do a lot of what the other characters were able to do with one good knee. So now imagine Emily at her best if she can do all this. And this brings me to the last few things to note. Emily has a 4-point GPA. And why this is relevant is because this means she was working hard and doing well in gym class, which explains a lot. And Sam is Emily's third highest default relationship, and their relationship is not capable of decreasing. And before I hear someone say it's because they don't interact much, I'd like to counter that point by saying that Matt doesn't interact with Sam at all either, but his relationship with Sam can decrease unlike Emily. So I attribute the real reason being that there's just nothing Emily does that can actually make Sam hate her, and vice versa. Now, why is this important? Well, it's also possible that this means Emily potentially learned a lot of her other athletic capabilities from Sam, which makes sense when they're noticeably the only two in the game who rock climb. Anyways, that's enough. Now we're on to Trashly. I don't think I even have much to say on this. I mean, in her lore, she's not athletic, and she has basically little to no insane feats unless you also want to count the off-screen Wendigo chase that Ashley, Emily, and Chris had. But that's where it ends. She's going in the easy win tier. Okay, so Hannah is going in the you're not beating them tier. Let me explain why. Just like Josh, Hannah had done baseball, but she also had taken part in riding horses, which requires strength, and she won a bronze medal in tennis. And before someone thinks it's wild for me to put her higher than Beth if she only won bronze, let me explain. So Beth was in the state championships, so she was up against the best nationally. But Hannah was in the Alberta International 2013 Championship. It wasn't just national, she was up against the best tennis players in the world. That's more impressive than Beth's feats in terms of lore. And as far as the feats we visually see, Hannah didn't do much. But we also gotta take into account she was mentally out of it in that moment. For example, Emily also was nerfed pretty hard in moments where she was scared, not showing her full capabilities, so I honestly believe if Hannah wasn't overwhelmed, would be the toughest female in the group. Lastly, we have Matt. He's the strongest male protagonist in lore due to being a football player, so he'd be training every day. And once again, like Emily and Hannah, I believe he's nerfed by his passiveness, but we saw his potential if you chose for Matt to get aggressive with Mike. So Matt's going in the you can't beat them tier. End of story. Anyways, this has been number 1, Emily Davis Simp. See you in the next one.